Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to talk about the law of conservation of momentum. And my name is Yerjan Koshebekov. I am working at NIS in Taraz City. So let's talk about the conservation of momentum. So first, let's look at our learning objective of the lessons. We have two objectives. First one is state the principle of conservation of momentum. So we just need to state, and we will use here the Newton's law, and after the derivation of the equation, we just actually at the end we will just state the principle of conservation of momentum. The second one is to apply the principle of conservation of momentum to solve simple problems, including elastic and inelastic interaction between two bodies in one dimension. And here we're going to apply. I will show you one simulation and how to find out which is elastic and inelastic interactions between two bodies. And the second one is I will do the practical work and we will solve one problem. So first I want to start with the questions, like why mountain climbers use nylon ropes. So what do you think, why are they using these nylon ropes, not just any other ropes? Could you give me the answer? And let's look for the answer. So the answer is said to increase the stopping time and to reduce the stopping force. This is why the climbers use nylon ropes. And now the second question. Which one is easy to stop? A slow moving bike or a fast moving bike? What do you think? And now let's talk about the answer. The answer is a slow bike. The third question, which one is easy to stop? Slow moving bike or a slow moving car? So what do you think? And the answer is a slow bike. For example, if you look at the pictures, what do you think? For example, a slow moving car, but because of the mass, it's very heavy, and that's why it's very hard to stop it. So now, let's continue. So the question is true or false? New cars crumple in an accident because engineers decide to use cheaper materials. So what do you think? Is it true or false? The answer is false, because they were designed to crumple as a way to lengthen the time of the collision and thus decrease the forces felt by the occupants. So it's actually the engineers who just making these cars, they think about the safety of the occupants. The next question is, what sports exhibit examples of momentum? So here is the pictures. You just need to think about them and say. So it's pool billiards, the bowling, the curling, and the shuffleboard. Why are engineers interested in momentum? So actually, it's really in real life where we can use this momentum. So what do you think? The answer is to design safer vehicles. It's like the crumple in the cars, and why they doing this is because to make it safety. The next question is, could a bee fly fast enough, crash into and stop a moving bowling ball? So what do you think? Is it really can happen or not? The answer is, it depends on the size and speed of the bowling ball. The next question, why in car uses airbags? The answer is airbags increase the time taken for the head's momentum to reach zero, so reduce the forces on it. They also act as soft cushion and prevent cuts. I know that most of the people, they think that it acts also like a soft cushion and prevent cuts, but actually is to increase the time taken for the head to, to reach it zero. And now let's talk about the derivation of the equation of conservation of momentum by Newton's free law. So first let's talk about the Newton's First law. It says that an object at rest stays at rest and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. This is the Newton's first law. So if the object at rest, it will be at rest if there is no force acting on it, and if it's just moving with a constant velocity, so it will be moving. But let's compare it with the conservation of momentum. And the law of conservation of momentum says that if no external forces acts on a system of objects, the algebraic sum of the linear momentum of the objects remains conserved. So you see, there is the same thing that if there is no force acting on an object, as everything will be conserved, or it will stay or moving how it was before. Now let's talk about the Newton's second law. It said that when a resultant force is applied to a body, it produces an acceleration that is directly proportional to the resultant force and inversely proportional to the mass of the body. And now we will just look at and derive the equation of the conservation of momentum by the Newton's second law. So the Newton's second law. So let's derive the equation. The first, we need to talk about that the force which is acting on the body is just equal to zero. Why? Because the acceleration is actually here is zero. So here we know that this equation from the equation of the impulse is taking the delta p over delta t. And here we derive it and show that this one is equal to zero. So it means the delta p is also is equal to zero. But what is the delta p? The delta p is the p final minus p initial. So it is actually equal to zero. Then we just made it in this way, and we just open it, and we know that the p is actually like n1 v1 final plus n2 v2 final is equal to n1 v1 initial plus n2 v2 initial. And this is what we said, the conservation of momentum. Let's talk about the Newton's third law. It says that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And now we will see how we are going to derive the Newton's third law and show how it's connected with the conservation of momentum. So the third law, we know it said that the action is equal to reaction. So if there is a force which is acting on a body, there always the force which is acting upon it. So it means there will be action and the reaction. So if you show it, it will be like the F minus is equal to the F. So the minus F is equal to F. Here we just multiply the F by the T, and we get this equation. This one is actually the D minus is equal to L delta D plus, because the impulse is equal to change of the momentum. So here we can put the one force and the second force, and we can put it also here, and it will be like these two, the two. And now let's open this one, so it will be minus n1 v1 final plus minus v1 initial is equal to n2 v2 final minus v2 initial. And now let's open the brackets, and we get minus n1 v1 final plus n1 v1 initial is equal to n2 v2 final minus to initial. Now, what we get here is M1 V1 initial is plus M2 V2 initial is equal to M2 V2 final and plus M1 V1 final. And this is what we needed to find. This is actually the conservation of momentum. And now, after all of these three Newton's law, we show it with a connection with the collision, with the conservation of momentum. So we just we can conclude that for a collision occurring between two objects in an isolated system, the total momentum of two objects before the collision is equal to the total momentum of the objects after the collision. And here, how we state the conservation of momentum. And the learning objective of the lesson was to state the principle of conservation of momentum and what we did with the Newton's law, actually. Now, let's work with a simulation to state whether the collisions are elastic or inelastic. Now we are going to talk about the elastic and inelastic collisions and how to know is it elastic or inelastic. So we need to enter to the FET Colorado and use the simulation with the collision lab. So this is the collision lab. We have two bodies, the one and the second one, and for this one we are going to use the virtual collision lab worksheet. It's approximately like that. And here you see we skip all of these questions and we just get to these columns, to these tables. And you can see that this you need to arrange the masses. So this masses will be the same. So 1.2 and here is also 1.2. Now they are the same. Now let's look at the V initial. The V initial must be, we open the more data. The V initial will be 1.50. The second one minus 1.80. Yeah, this is now we're ready. And from this table, we can actually see, I need to show the kinetic energy and show the values, yes, like that. And now here you can see that we can write in this table the P initial, and we can write the P initial, and you can see that 1.80 and the minus 2.16, and now we need to collect them and see how the others will change. And so we have a V final, it's a minus 1.80, and for the second mass it's 1.50. We have the momentum, the initial, and this is the finals. So you can see the relationship between the momentum, they are the same. And we can look at this last column. It says the total initial kinetic energy. You saw it was 3.29, and the final is the same, 3.29. So we can say that here is this collision is an elastic collision because the kinetic energy is the same as the initial and as the final. Now let's look at the second table and rearrange the values. So it is 2.40 and 4.80, and the velocity of the second will be 0, and the first one is 1.30. Yeah, this is so we can see that the initial kinetic energy is 2.03, and the velocities and the momentums. We write it on the table, and now we collect them. Let's play. So you see the velocities, how they change, and the momentums, and if you add all of them, and you will see that they didn't change, they're the same at initial and the final, and you can see the kinetic energy, it's also the same. So there is we can say that if the kinetic energy is the same at the initial and the final, we can say that this is the elastic collision. Okay, the last table you will do yourself, but the first you need to calculate the velocity initial of the body 1. Now let's look at the perfectly inelastic collision. So we need to change here to put it inelastic, and now let's change the values. First we will take the same masses, 1.20, and the second one is 1.20, and we put the velocities. It said that 1.50 was the first, no, not here, this one, yeah. 1.050 and the minus 1.80, and okay, let's look what will happen. You will see the initial kinetic energy is 3.29, the velocities and the momentums initial. Now let's look after the collision what will happen. The kinetic energy change, you see, it says that it's 0.03, and the momentums, it said that the momentum is a minus 0.18, and the second body is a minus 0.18, and the velocity is also the same. So we can easily say that if the kinetic energy is not the same, the collision is perfectly inelastic. And the second table is for you. You will just do it yourself and find out if it actually the kinetic energy will not be conserved. Yes. And now let's look at the practical work with the pendulum to use the equation of conservation of momentum. So this is the first practical work which I prepared for you. I have the pendulum, the two balls, one free and the one on the rope, and they will collect. After that, the second ball will pass from the two photo gates. The distance between photo gates is 10 centimeters, and I have the time meter, and when the ball is passing from these two photo gates, the time will just stop, and we will see at which time they pass. I actually did it how I am going to calculate the velocity of the first ball. I will find out from the height of this ball, and from the conservation of energy I will calculate the velocity of this body when it's just coming to this point. But this practical is actually, I solved it, and we tried to find the answer, but it's getting always wrong because there are a lot of the errors, the systematic errors. So that's why I will not exactly show you how it's going to work, and I will show you another one, the second practical work, which is actually the result was very good. So the second practical work, which is actually gives very good results. This one, we have two pendulums, and we have only the mass. We measure the mass, and we have some. We will calculate the height. For example, so how we are going to work? So first we need have two plastilines, because when they collide with each other, they will join together and they go with together. So first I will take this pendulum, the blue one, and I will raise it until here. It's approximately the 8 centimeters because it's exactly in the center, and then I will just, and you will go the same. So which is a little bit closer, so we can exactly see the results at which height they are going. Why I am doing it? Because I need a height and use the conservation of energy. I will calculate the velocity of this mass, and then when they are going together to this point, I will measure and find out the height of these two. So the first, it will be work like that. Yeah, this one. So we repeat all of this work 5 or 6 times, and then we calculate the velocity, the initial and the final, and then we calculated all of this, the velocities, and we find the height. The theoretical and the practical one is the same. So this is what we actually need to prove. So first, what we did, we need to calculate the masses, the M1 and M2. So the first, it was 60.1 gram, second 65.81 gram. And how I showed you to you, the height was H was 8 centimeters. I didn't change it because you know that the actual height was there. It was 8 minus 1, so it must be the 7 centimeters. But I leave it with 8 because I just wanted to see how exact there was exactly the answer. So then I use, we need to find the V1 because we know it, but we know the height. So with the conservation of the energy, I calculated the mv squared is equal to mgh. From this equation, the mass of the gun, and we get the V is equal to root of square 2gh. So this is the V1. So if we calculate it, 9.81 times h is 8 times to 10 minus 2 because we get it in centimeters, and we get the answer 1.57 meter per second. And now using the conservation of momentum, mv1 plus m2v2 is equal to m1v1 plus m2v2 prime. And here I need, because the first, this object was not moving, here it will be equal to 0, and we know that this one plus and equal to, and these two is gone together. That's why our equation will be in this way. So now we need to find this V, and so it will be V is equal to M1 V1 over M1 plus M2. This is what we actually need to get, and we get the answer 0.87 meter per second. And this is the second velocity of these two bodies. And now, again using the conservation of energy is equal to mgh, we know that we need to get the h, so the h will be equal to v squared over 2g. So if we put the values, it will be like 0.61 and 1962, and we get the answer 0.03 meters, which is actually 3 centimeter. And what we actually did when we were doing it, there was a H practical, and it was actually 3 centimeter. And this is exactly how we use the conservation of the momentum and the conservation of energy, and find out the practical and theoretical values the same. The learning object of the lesson said that apply the principle of the conservation of momentum to solve simple problems, including elastic and inelastic interactions between two bodies in one dimension. So in one dimension, we will look at is it elastic or inelastic interaction between the two bodies, and now here to solve the simple problem, we just need a little practical work, which we did before, and from that we actually saw how it works.